may have seen some deer out and about while you're driving around, and that can pose quite the hazard. Channel 8 Eyewitness News reporter Joe Harris has more on that story for us this evening. Joe?
Patrol says you're only going to see more in the next month, and they tell us how you can stay safe and avoid any dangerous encounters. On Saturday, a deer ran through a Hy-Vee on North 27th Street. Lincoln Animal Control Field Supervisor Officer Scott Lowry says that's not uncommon. Lowry says Lincoln has had deer in homes, churches, and bars.
We've had deer jump through plate glass windows into stores. Deer are capable of all sorts of stuff, and so during this time of the year they just tend to be kind of wild, and they're out running around.
He says we're just entering the peak season for deer activity because it's mating season and harvest time, things that make the deer move around more.
Typically in October we'll start to see a rise in the number of injured deer calls that we get, and that usually peaks out in November.
He says one of Lincoln's most notorious areas is Superior Street between 27th and 48th, because that stretch of road has deer habitats on one side and cornfields on the other. He says deer typically get hit as they're crossing the road to get between the two.
You need to be very aware during dusk and dawn of your surroundings and keep an eye out for deer, because that's when they're typically going to move.
He says if you think you're about to hit a deer, just try to brake without swerving. He says it's better to hit a deer than to crash into another vehicle. Now, Lowry also says if you see a deer in your neighborhood, leave them alone. He says deer are more likely to run into buildings and damage vehicles when someone's chasing them.
Great advice. Joe Harris, thank you for that story tonight.